The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And here we are, episode 89.
89.
The big 8-9er.
8-9.
What is the topic?
This is why not to fear death.
Wonderful question. Cool. Well, before we jump into it, anything from last week?
Well, last week we did 2020 Don't Let the Door Hit You on the Way Out.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, and people thought that was a really funny episode. They enjoyed it. But I wanted to wish our listeners a very happy new year.
Happy New Year.
It is now 2021.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And so when you brought up that episode last week, I was thinking in my mind, goodbye.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
Exactly. Right? I'm so glad that it's gone. It was an interesting night, when looking on the TV at the difference of Times Square,
Mm-hmm.
From normal, there was like nobody there.
It was weird.
And those, I don't know what those things are called, those big blow up things that they have like
in front of the car dealerships.
Yeah, exactly. They had just tons of those. Like, look, here's something moving.
Well, at least they're having a good time.
Yeah. I mean, they had live performers and stuff, but actually the most interesting thing that I saw was the Anderson Cooper and how funny he is. We should have just stayed on that all night.
Loved it.
Yeah. If you haven't seen this, the CNN does New Year's Eve, look it up for some YouTube videos, because next year, I swear, that's what we're going to be watching, because they get drunk on TV, Anderson Cooper, and I can't remember the other guy's name.
I think it's Andy Cohen.
Yeah, you're right, Andy Cohen. And it's just hysterical.
It's very funny.
Yeah. Anderson Cooper has the funniest laugh. So that's all that I wanted to say. It was just Happy New Year, and,
Cool.
Here we are, 2021.
Let it be a good one, please.
Exactly.
Nice.
So,
all right.
that's it.
So we're going to hop into episode 89 and why not to fear death.
Yes. I wanted to make sure to leave a lot of time for this episode and not fill it with stuff in the beginning, because there's a lot, I think, to talk about on this.
Yeah.
I think that this is probably one of the things that people fear the most. Not necessarily the part where you're dying, but what actually happens. And most people, I think, are afraid of, what are they going to go through before? How much pain are they going to be in?
Right.
But a lot of people do believe, too, that it's lights out. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to do this episode to kind of explain what actually happens, what I feel happens from what I've been told by the other side, or, what I've read, those types of things, Dolores Cannon books, and maybe try and bring some peace to the minds of some people that are concerned about this, that put so much focus on it. Mm-hmm. I used to be one of them. I was so scared of death for myself.
Well, that's what was kind of a nice, well, the whole thing's been a fresh breath of air, but about stumbling onto Dolores after the fact.
Right.
Because we had already, or you had already learned about this in your life, the gift, and we're kind of working at it. And so I was already asking questions that are addressed in Dolores Cannon's books. I was asking your mom, like, during channeling and stuff like that. So coming back to her later and, saying, look, she's saying that a lot of what you've already shared with me is correct, but she's saying some other stuff, too, that I'm interested in. And is this true? And she's able to basically... At first she wouldn't. She's like, you need to go search and figure this stuff out yourself. And then when I came upon it and realized they're saying the same thing as Linda's saying, there's a connection. There's a truth.
I never really thought much about it until my mom died. And then it wasn't like I had a choice to think about it or not. I started having the weirdest experiences that I just couldn't explain. Mm-hmm. Like from the day that she died, I just instantly knew that she was with me. I wasn't alone. It was so strange.
Right.
Where I had never even thought of that before, of a spirit being with me or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So that for me was like the eye opener of like, okay, there is definitely something more. And that took a lot of my fear of death away for a while, because I figured, well, if my mom can go through it, then it's probably not that scary.
Sure.
It kind of changed my outlook a little bit. Now this, becoming a medium, has completely changed my outlook. I do for myself. I fear the death of others, sudden death, but that's trauma that I've experienced. Not because of what I know as a medium, because what I know as a medium should just get me to calm down. Mm. But, sometimes you can't do.
But there's people that fear sudden death for themselves too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When some people are concerned about death and how will I die and what will the pain be like, or some people fear that sudden element. Mm-hmm. Too.
Yeah, I actually asked our listeners these questions this week. One of them was just, do you fear death? And most of them said yes, but they worry about others passing, not about themselves. And then the second most was no, that they've accepted it. And then a few said that they're afraid because of lights out.
Yeah.
So they're afraid for themselves, really, to die.
Right.
This is a hard topic. People don't want to talk about it because it is so real.
It is a big elephant in a room.
Yes.
Often.
But it's important for us to talk about it because the more that we talk about it, the better prepared we can be. Mm-hmm. And the more that we can understand it if we just kind of shove it under a rug and pretend it's not there. Because we have to understand that there are only two things that's going to happen to all humans, and that's birth and death. Mm-hmm. Those are the only two things.
Yep.
It's inevitable. You cannot get away from it. Mm-hmm. So we have to deal with it. We have to talk about it. We have to make it less frightening so that, help people understand so that it's not so frightening.
And quite honestly, for me personally, coming to, the belief of that we do this more than once.
Right.
If not many, many times. So if it was that bad and traumatic, why would we be doing this over and over again?
Right.
I think we don't remember all of that for a reason, but it's not nearly as bad as we play it up in our head.
No.
Otherwise, we wouldn't come back and do it again.
No. And it's a good point is that, death, God, that word just sounds bad, doesn't it? It just sounds bad.
It's a word we made up.
Exactly. We look at it as bad. The word itself isn't. But that's because we look at it as the end. Mm-hmm. And it's not the end. Mm-mm. What we call death is just the end of this life, and then we go back. It's a cycle. It's one big cycle of...
But you truly don't ever die.
You never die. Your soul,
conscious, your soul, your mind goes with you.
Yeah.
And you're very aware of where you're at and who you're with. And when you come back, you're aware of other things, of your physicality and your mortality again. You don't remember all the things from the other side, but you'll go back and you'll remember it again.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I had written a couple of things down that stuck out to me. One of them was that death is beautiful, and in a perfect world, in the perfect universe, actually, our loved ones would want us to celebrate a death similar to a birth. Mm-hmm. That's really hard to do because most of the time we look at it as, the person is gone and it's sorry for them. But most of the time, really, it's us. Mm-hmm. It's the people that are left behind that we're sorry for. It's us that's hurting because they have moved on.
Yeah.
They don't want to see their loved ones cry like this,
No.
But how can you not? It's the parting of something. It's just like a breakup, except that you're never going to see this person again. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be tears. There's going to be grief. That's all natural. And I think they understand that. I'm not saying on the other side they don't understand it. I think they start to not understand it when we sit in it for too long, when we stagnate in that, because it's like well, why?
Right.
We're happy.
Yeah. I remember your mom sharing one time with us that Death Day on the other side is celebrated much more than even birthdays are on this side.
Yeah.
It's much more highly regarded.
Right. here's something else I read, and it really got me thinking, is that we really are all just waiting to die. We're all in this imaginary line to die, to go to the other side. Mm-hmm. But then the same thing happens over there, where you get in line to be reborn. Mm-hmm. So it's like a cycle. And when you're reborn, they're not sad there for you, but they still, it's like, it is a part of them is missing, whoever leaves. You know, there's emotion that come with it. I believe that.
Yeah,
not like what we had, the grief we have here.
Right.
But they're still like, oh, you know.
But they know we'll be back is what we're facing here in this question today is, you know, people's uncertainty of will I see them again kind of thing.
One of the ways that has helped me really accept this and understand it is to separate the soul from the body. They are two completely different things. You have your soul, you have your body. When you can learn that one thing stays here and the other one doesn't, that really helps you, because then you can kind of look at all of these physical things, all of the human things that I've accumulated here, they stay here. Mm-hmm. Only what I came in here with and the memories and those things, the lessons learned, that's what goes with you. But everything else stays here. This meat suit, it stays here. Thank you.
Yeah, if it was that important as a part of your existence, it would go with you.
Exactly.
It's our need to want to identify individually with this body. Yep. And like you said, the body stays here. It doesn't go with you. So it must not be important. But the funny part is the body dissolves, disintegrates, or whatever, dies.
Right.
But you, in actuality, you don't.
Right.
So its importance isn't what we put on it. It's important to take care of it while you have it. But it's just a travel suit.
Exactly.
It's how your soul can travel in this plane, this dimension, without others looking at you and freaking out.
Well, yeah, you know, you think, but that's why, like, aliens and stuff, different planets, it's the same thing. That carries their soul. Whatever they look like, that's just what they look like on their planet. It doesn't matter.
They're exactly the same thing inside.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same kind of soul.
And I guarantee you, many of us have had those experiences on other worlds.
Yeah.
In other lives and other bodies that didn't look like these.
Absolutely.
You don't remember it.
No. Thankfully.
Yeah.
Can you believe if you could remember all of your past lives, be like, damn, carrying on a lot here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the other questions that I asked our listeners was, what scares you the most about death? And they said how it will happen and what will happen to their loved ones and their pets when they go. But a lot of people get fixated on the what will happen to me when I go. What will this process be like? And so I felt like for these people that is a concern. How will it happen? What will it be like? I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about what the spirits have told me, what I see when I go in, because I see a lot of the way that it works. And again, Dolores Cannon has helped us to really open our eyes as well.
And I've sat next to people while they've taken their last breath and witnessed it.
Sudden death and unexpected death and expected death are two very, very, very different things. I've experienced both. My mom died very suddenly, and my grandmother, I took care of her for 7 years before she died. So I watched her go through the dying process. When my mom died, I was a mess for 3 years. When my grandma died, I was relieved. I cried and I miss her, but I was relieved. Yeah. That's the difference. It doesn't happen all the time like that. There's still people that when it's expected, you don't have that relief that, you know, because they may be younger or whatever and it sucks, but it's still different. You've had a chance to kind of understand that this is going to happen and accept it as much as you can. Sure. Where with sudden death, it's completely different.
Yeah.
But what is the same is what happens when you go, when you leave your body. We all experience pretty much the same kind of experience.
Sure. Just like we all pretty much experience the same thing coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. when we start to like with the the expected death, like, old age or disease or whatever it may be, you start to see the changes that that they go through. I knew when my grandma was closer to passing, and I wish that I would have known that years before, because I was always so worried about her dying.
Right.
And the process really did take a while. But once it got closer to the end, it happened pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to eat anymore. They don't want to drink, because we know, this happens to all of us, that it's okay, that
mm-hmm.
this is what's going to happen.
Right.
And during that time, like, my grandma had dementia, so they say. I really don't believe that. I think she was just hard to deal with.
Right.
But towards the end of her life, she started calling for my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then she started calling for her mom.
Right.
And she was asking to go home more and more. And I realized that what she was talking about wasn't home in
Right.
Westlake, where she lived all those years.
Yeah.
It was home to heaven is where she wanted to go.
Yeah.
And all this time I kept telling her, you can't, your house isn't there. That wouldn't
Right.
work. And I should have been telling her, you're going to,
Right.
So we start to see those things in them. And so those aren't like weird brain changes. That's our soul actually preparing to leave.
Yeah.
So when you see those things, it's encourage. It's okay to encourage that if you're, helping
I think there's
somebody
almost
through
like
this process.
like a lucid state that there can be in at times, where at their age and what they're going through, that process, that they can start to see them.
Yes.
In front of them.
Yes.
Or the medication that they may be on that kind of keeps them basically subdued, and in that point they're kind of in a dream state also, so they're kind of already being shown, like, don't worry, and the amount of beauty that you can see is just so captivating. I can't really say what it looks like, I just know that it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you're drawn.
Yeah.
You immediately realize, I am one of you.
Right.
I'm the same as you. So you're drawn energetically to that.
Right.
So, and I've seen this in the process of watching people take their last breath or going through the last couple hours of life, that my ex-grandmother-in-law was like sitting in a bed and kind of holding her hands up.
Wow.
And she's dying, and she was literally hours away from death, but like kind of holding her hands up a little bit, not real high, but looking in an upward way, or their jaw wide open in complete awe, like, and trying to say things, but you could just see, like, she was seeing things that we didn't see.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she was in awe. She didn't look scared. She didn't look in pain. I've seen this a couple times with somebody taking their last breath, and it was never like that. I think we have medications for a reason. So if you have an illness, there are things to help you fight pain and probably knock you out too a lot of the time.
Yes.
But that's in a way a good thing. Because now you're preparing, you're getting connected, you're seeing the truth via their help. And that's what we mean by, like, you're never alone.
Right.
Like, you're never alone when you come into the world, and you're never alone when you exit.
Right. One of the questions that we were asked that I'd like to talk about is what happens if somebody's on life support or in a coma? Do they know that the person is there, that people are there, that can they feel them, can they hear them? And here's really what I believe, not just with people in that kind of state, but also with, like, anybody that you see that sleeps a lot, whether, they're elderly, they're sick. I believe that when they're asleep, when they're in the coma, that they are in the spirit world.
Yeah.
And they're there, and they know that you're there with them. So you absolutely talk to them. They hear you.
Right. It would be almost like an out-of-body experience, where they could be watching from the other side, very aware that you're there, speaking to you. That's why you see people, that are hooked up to those kind of, machines that are reading pulses and different things, and you see reactions sometimes when they are being spoken to.
Right.
Yeah, it's letting you know, I'm aware. I just, I can't communicate with you right now like I would normally.
Absolutely.
But I'm communicating with you.
My grandmother had a near-death experience. And one of the things about that is that the only thing that makes it a near-death experience, and it as an exception like what we're talking about right now, is that you remember the out-of-body experience where, like, if you're in a coma, you don't remember that.
Right.
So my grandmother, she was, I believe it was when she was having her hysterectomy that she started bleeding out. And she was, flatlining, they were going to lose her, and she exited her body and she could see from above what was going on, and she told the doctors that, and they thought she was totally crazy, but so she told them exactly what they said and exactly what she saw, things that there was no way that she could have seen if she wasn't, and they were like totally floored by it. My grandma was also psychic. She never told anybody that, but she was. So I believe, like, I wonder if that could happen to me, like if I have to have surgery at some point. I mean, I've had surgery and that's never happened, but that would be kind of cool to be out of your body and be able to see it. I don't want to, flatline or anything, but, to be able to have that out-of-body experience and see all that would be whoa, and then to remember. So that's really the difference with, like, people in a coma or, anything like that, is that a lot of times they don't remember. Most of the time they don't remember that they're in the spirit world, and that they can see what's going on, and that they know what's going on, and that they can also interact with their loved ones at that time. Right. And then when they're here, they're here. But that's why, like my grandma and, what you were saying about your grandmother-in-law, was that they see that, they know that, they feel that. And when they're here, I almost feel like my grandma was like, oh, I just want to go back to sleep, to be where I was before,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It really is when you think about how powerful we really are as souls. In regards to both expected, natural death and unexpected sudden death, something to keep in mind with this is that, our belief is that we're all connected to the source, to God, whatever. And we like to believe that there's this, what we can't see, but this cord, silver cable that connects us all to that energy and gives us our life and our energy.
Right.
The minute that cord's severed, you're on the other side.
Yep. Like a door.
Your life is done.
Yeah.
Okay. You can choose to sever that cord yourself and take your own life. It can be severed suddenly in a, car accident, some other unfortunate accident, and it can be severed by a long-term illness and death by natural cause.
Yeah.
Any time, and suicide isn't a great example of this because I don't condone it at all. I think you came here for a reason. You chose to come here as a contract to experience life as a human and to learn something, your soul to learn something, because your soul is going to return to the other side. The body won't. But your mind and your soul will remember and learn. Yeah. That's what's important in the big picture of it all. However, because you have this cable, this energy cable connected to you, you can leave. Yep. Besides suicide, you can leave before you actually die. You can choose if you want to go through the actual pain and suffering and feel it or not. That's your personal choice. Meaning, if you see a car coming on head on and you know instinctively you're going to die, okay, you can exit. Yeah. And you don't have to feel that. No. Some people choose to, some people don't. It's just a thing that each one of us feel like maybe we have to learn or we don't. Right. It's just, or we learn it at different times and we don't experience it again. Right. But I believe that is the case. The same would be for if you were lying in a hospital with an illness and you were dying progressively of this illness. You can leave. Yeah. Your body could still be connected, kind of like in a coma situation or some other situation that would be very sad. Yeah. You could be hooked up to all these cables and showing signs of, the heart's beating and we're keeping it alive, but you've left. Right. Right. So you don't have to be in fear. And this is something that I personally, death used to cripple me. Yeah. would ruin my day.
Yeah.
Or my week or month. I would let it really get to me.
Yeah.
And then I realized it's something I have to accept.
Yeah.
In order to get feeling any better about it.
Right.
However, learning these things about what I believe has really helped because I don't want to personalize this so much anymore.
Yeah.
I realize that I'm a soul and I live forever. And on the other side, I don't have a name.
Right.
It's not Danny. It's not whatever 100 other lives I've lived. There's no words to describe. You're just recognized for what you are.
Right.
And that is your individual soul, you know?
Yep.
You are, in essence, kind of like an ant farm.
Yeah.
You work for the greater of good. And that means working from the other side to help, working from this side to help.
Right.
And learning the lessons in this life that go along with all that. But so that really eased me a lot in feeling like, wow, death isn't. And then I got into Dolores books and they talk to spirits about it. And they're like, you guys, it's as easy as breathing.
That's exactly right. It's like the door opening. Mm-hmm. It's that easy. When you were talking, what I saw, like how to describe an accident, like a car accident, is let's say that you see the car coming at you, and then all of a sudden it's just, you're there. There's nothing, you don't feel the impact, you're just gone. You're there. You're on the other side.
Yep.
It's that easy. It's not, even when like there's suffering, there seems to be suffering, I really feel this is the case. I really feel like you're already gone. You're already on the other side. Like, even with animals, dogs that have been hit by a car that don't make it, they're gone.
Right.
Their body is reacting.
Yes.
Yeah. But their soul is gone. It's gone. And that's, for me, that's very comforting.
And I think as a soul and being the kind of power that we have, you can make that split, minute millisecond decision.
Yes.
Right before, if it was some type of impact or knowing, you know, or I fell off a cliff on accident.
Right.
And I'm watching the ground come faster and faster at me.
Right.
You can exit.
You can exit.
You can just simply ask, and it will be done.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it might sound crazy to a lot of people, but I totally believe it. I think the reason why suicide's different in this sense is you're still severing the same cord, but you're opting out of the contract that you came into this world to do.
It's free will.
And that's free will. You chose your free will, and therefore you can choose, as we go to the other side, all of us, we could choose to go to our own, witness our own funeral and hang around the people that we love that are sad. That we do that.
Yeah.
However, if you commit suicide, it's different. You have to go and witness this funeral, and you have to see in particular what your choice did to affect everybody else.
Part of your lesson.
It's part of your lesson.
Yeah.
So I don't suggest it.
No.
It's not like you go to hell. You don't go to hell.
There's no hell.
There is no hell. You go to the same place everybody else does, except you have to take a little time out to review this part of it.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily easy.
Right.
Okay? Because you still have emotion there.
Right.
Whether you can shed tears, it's different, and we process it there different.
Right.
Because we have a greater understanding.
Right.
But that's why we don't condone that.
Right.
No matter how bad things get.
Right.
You know, don't make that choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Life can change from one second to the next. You just never know what could come your way. So.
Yeah.
But let's talk about what happens when your heart stops and that portal opens and you go through to the other side.
All right.
The first thing that happens is you see loved ones. I talk to so many people that are afraid that they're going to get there and there's not going to be anybody there. Your pets will be there, and vice versa for your pets. When they get there, they're never alone. There's always somebody there. You may not realize that you have friends and loved ones on the other side because you're thinking so right now and close to you.
Right.
I did a reading for a lady the other day that was like that did this. couldn't imagine her grandmother that died 30 years ago would want to talk to her now, so she totally forgot, yes, I have loved ones on the other side. No matter how long they've been passed, no matter what generation they are, they're still there. And they're still there to greet you. Mm-hmm. And they're still there to help you, too. So you never, ever, ever are alone.
And that's not even including your soulmate who's assigned to you the day you're born to guide you. You'll always have your other
spirit guides?
Yeah, not soulmate. Sorry,
spirit
guide.
Mm-hmm.
They're always there helping you too.
Right.
Family will always be there.
Yes.
But there is someone that's particularly assigned you for a reason.
Right.
That was their job, something they had to learn and mentor and do something. So it's not in vain.
Right.
And so even if because we kind of talked about a little bit in perception, let's say for someone that believes it's lights out, okay? And you die and you're holding, tightly to that concept that it's lights out.
Right.
Well, you might die and be in a room that's black.
Right.
You could perceive this if you want. It's not going to go on for very long. And my point is because your spirit guide's right there telling you, can we go?
Right.
Can we go now? Because I'd like to show you where we're really supposed to go.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to let you know is that don't fear it.
Right.
Go with it. Because if you have, if it's Christ that you want to see when you die, you'll see Christ.
Right.
If it's Buddha you want to see, you'll see Buddha. If you want to see Mary Tyler Moore, then that's who you'll see.
Right. There is what's called the Astral Plane. Mm-hmm. And the Astral Plane is between basically I would call it the first level of heaven or the second, if you want to call the Astral Plane the first, and here. Okay. So sometimes if somebody dies suddenly or they're just not willing to accept their death, they can stay there in that astral plane for a while. Mm-hmm. One of the questions that we were asked is, how is that possible if you always have somebody with you? Those people, those spirits, they're not going to leave you. They'll try and convince you to go, and they will not leave your side until you're ready to go.
Yep.
So they will still be there with you, but you're still stuck in this earthly thing. So the best thing that you can do is just accept it. But some people just can't. They just can't accept it. And that's what you're talking about when it's possible to see a black room, is that's the astral plane. That's your own perception that you're trapped in because you can't let go of this physical world.
Right.
That does not happen to a lot of people. That is really tragic, sudden death, that where you're just like 1 second like, whoa.
Your conscience goes with you.
Yeah.
Not your brain, not the physical thing that makes up the brain. That doesn't. But your awareness and your ideas and conscious goes with you.
Right.
And so before you can completely, like you're saying, transition to that side, you have to accept. And so you might get yourself stuck in a position by perception.
Yes.
Of what you were told or fed maybe your whole life, or what this is, or what you thought of that. And just like us, where we're sort of like opening our minds to this, you realize there's so much more. Mm-hmm. There's so much more than you can even imagine or see. Oh, yeah. And then once you get to the other side, it's so much more than what you really think it is.
Absolutely.
So you have to get to a point where you accept. But like you said, you're never alone. Yeah. So your spirit guide is going to stand there with you for as long as you want to stand there.
Yeah.
You can't, you could imagine yourself in a fiery lake, a place like hell, too. But the problem is you don't have a body.
Yeah.
So you can't feel any fire or hot.
It's silly.
It would be just a stupid perception to put yourself in and be like, oh my God, this is hell.
Yeah.
But the truth is that's what you make up.
Right.
And you still have your spirit guide standing there going, God, this place is a real downer. Can we go?
Right. Exactly. What does heaven look like? That's something that,
Great question.
Yes, get asked a lot. It's different for everybody. Mm-hmm. So when you get there and you are reunited, with your loved ones and everything, what will that look like?
Right.
To me, when I see this, I don't see much. I see you and your loved ones with I mean, I'll be honest, white. But what's interesting is that a lot of times when I connect to a spirit, I do see it with just the spirit, like what they look like, and then a black background, kind of like how Elle sees things on Stranger Things. But it's not eerie dark. It's just dark for me to pay my attention to that spirit. But I see the complete opposite when I see everybody together after they pass, and it just, to me, looks white. But that changes, you know, because then you can see whatever you want. It becomes your perception, your reality, once you've accepted that you have gone and that you have, you know, you are there now.
And some of the stuff that I've read in Dolores' book, in her past life regression sessions, that they talk about, there are different levels. So obviously the higher up you get, the closer you are to the source itself. And I think that's probably where souls like Christ and Buddha and archangels are, like Michael and what's the other one? Help me here. Gabriel, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
Some can choose to come to Earth and some have never actually incarnated in a body.
Right.
They just stay souls.
Right, exactly.
So there are different levels, but she did talk specifically about, like, when traveling around there, that it's all in your mind, right? Because that's the only thing there that's with you besides your soul, your energy, is your conscious.
Right, it's energy.
So we can present ourselves to look like a glowing ball. We can take form of like a human or some other life that maybe we lived. There is a place that they kind of talk, which is she talked about in the lower, like, as you first enter, there's sort of there's a welcoming. Right. And then a resting period. Yes. And then a review of your life period.
Yes.
And then after that, then you are given some time to, like, I think, have fun.
Yeah, you can do what you want.
The impression I got. And so there's a place there where you can manifest anything that you had on Earth. Yeah. You can manifest a giant house and have all your friends and family that are there with you, and you can get them all looking like they did.
Yeah, it's your perception.
You can play, you know. So, but you also have to go to schooling there. Right. You have to learn. So it's not all play. Right. There are temples, libraries, like healing places for knowledge. Right. That we go to learn. The reason we come into a body is because you learn a lot more in a shorter amount of time. Right. Than you do there. And you have, like, hands-on experience. Yeah. It's a totally different experience. It's like reading a book as to, you know, being involved in the story itself. It's totally different when you come here. You experience, you know, this. A lot of people think, you know, why would I want to reincarnate? Why would I want to come back here? Well, let me tell you what, you're going to get bored over there. I mean, they say there's no such thing as boredom, but it's like after a while, you're just going to be like, I'm ready. Something new. I got to go back. I got to, you know, try these things out that I've learned here, because you learn a lot there. Right. I wanted to, because I wanted to talk about the process itself so people know. I want to break these down real quick. So when you rest, what you're talking about, this is a time that is up to the soul itself. And it's basically like going into hibernation. Yeah. It's just slowing down. I think for me, what I see and what I hear from spirits is that the more, like, tragic their life or the harder it was, the longer they like to rest. If they were very sick, they want to rest longer. This is a time where I try not to, if I can, not talk to the spirits. Right. You said they're the ones you have connected before that were passed recently, that they're usually, their energy's low or they're faint. They don't say much. It's different. And they come and go. Where the other spirits, they just stay with me, but the ones that are there more recent, they're like a light fading in and out, kind of. And that doesn't have anything to do with them. It's just because they're resting. Their soul is just kind of, you know, it's shut down. It's there, but it's not. So we can communicate with them. It's just maybe not the most ideal time, because we may not get, like, the most detailed information. Right. So I do tell people it's usually better to wait. Animals, it's completely different. Animals, you can communicate with them immediately. Right. That's not an issue.
But that rest period can go on, like I said, for any amount of time, whatever the spirit itself chooses.
Huh.
And then after that, you go into that life review. The life review I'm really excited about, while I'm scared at the same time.
Yeah.
Because what I've come to learn is that these moments that stick out to you, you can experience them again and feel those feelings again. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty wild, that you can feel the feelings. Just to see it, like, you know,
Right.
like in the movie Scrooge, where you're standing on the outside and you see it, as opposed to actually being in the moment, is kind of crazy.
And the other part, too, I think it will be neat to experience as some of those moments when you review them, is that your interpretation of that moment may not have been at all what your perception said it was.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah.
You know?
You learn a lot from that, absolutely.
So I would like a moment to like maybe feel it, and then a moment to step out and look at it objectively.
Right.
Sort of.
Mm-hmm. It's how you learn. Yeah. How else are you going to learn? It's like reviewing your movie. You have to watch it, you know? But I believe, too, that you can pick and choose what you want to see. I don't think that you have to see certain things if you don't want to. But I think that you do want to, because I think that that's the learning of it, you know? Mm-hmm. Even maybe not when you're right there going through the life review, because I think you can still do this later on. You know, you can still see your life the way that it was, and like a movie, play it back, which, you know, does help you learn, like you said, that those different perceptions that you have here as opposed to what was actually going on.
Right. No, I agree with you. You don't have to, but you don't have to incarnate either.
No, you don't.
It's a choice you make, because like anything, our desire is knowledge.
Right.
Experience and knowledge. And that continues. Even when the body dies, we're still craving knowledge and information and growing.
Yep.
But from there, we realize it's all positive. It's here that we get trapped in the negative.
Right.
And get in our own way in our learning process. And when we do that, we create karma that we realize through that life is now going to require coming back to fix or redirect or whatever you want to say. I don't know.
Right. I asked our listeners, do they have fears about this process, about the transition process itself? And really their biggest fear is to watch family members be sad.
Yeah.
And I definitely understand that, but I think that I know that we see it very differently when we get there. And I don't think that we want to sit, you know, and just, you know, watch them wallow. That's a process. It's something that they have to go through. We have to go through. Everybody experiences grief at some point in their life. It's a part of this learning process.
Right.
So you have to go through that. Yeah. So do they, you know, are they sad looking at you being sad?
Right.
I don't think so. I think it's looked at very differently than what we think. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's not as bad as what I think others think. But most of them said no fears, that they don't have any fears about the transition process itself, and I thought that was pretty cool. More people are just afraid of how they're going to die, how that's going to happen, because we don't know. They don't tell us you're going to die on this day.
No,
you're just gone, and that for a lot of people is very scary.
It is, but you're just gone from the human sight.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Your soul is still alive on the other side. Absolutely. We got asked a really interesting question, and this question opens up something that I think is really important. And the question was, how many days after passing is it acceptable for the physical body to be cremated? Okay. This is where you have to separate soul from body, soul from human feelings. Mm-hmm. When you get to the other side, you have no concerns over what is left here, including that horrible meat suit that was decaying and you left it here.
Yeah.
It's really, when you get there, my feeling is that they don't even understand why we make such a big deal out of the whole thing, the funeral, the everything, you know? And I did that. Like when my mom died, I wanted the best of everything for her because I felt that that's what she deserved. And so much money was spent on funeral and burying her and the location. And I never go to the cemetery because she's not there. You know what I mean? It was such a waste of money because she doesn't care. All of those things that she told me that she wanted, a white coffin, to have her hair dyed if it was dark, to wear jewelry, all of those things, she undid them. I had no choice but to get her a wood coffin. I couldn't dye her hair even though it was dark, and they refused to put her jewelry on her. That showed me right there that those things didn't matter to her anymore.
Nope.
My grandma walked into that funeral and saw the dark casket and got mad. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. That was all that was available. They couldn't get me a white one. She didn't understand. I get it now.
Yeah.
I understand that she wanted to show me those things aren't important. They weren't important. And so they're not. When you get there, those things are instantly not important to you. So how long do you have to wait to cremate a body? You don't.
Right.
If you want to take it straight from the house and cremate it, you go for it.
Right.
You do with it as you please, is basically what I'm saying. Don't feel, even with pets, don't feel like you have to do one thing or another. Right. Do what you want to do. Don't spend a lot of money on it. Don't do what I did.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Oh, my God.
I used to have this strange thought, too, when I passed. I thought, I want to be buried with my first guitar.
Yeah.
And then my mind started going, well, first of all, I don't want to be buried.
Right.
Okay? Because that's just a ridiculous waste of money.
Yeah.
And a waste of
land and everything else.
Which is more important.
Right.
And more so, what a waste of guitar. You know, like that could go on and live in somebody else's hands and birth other music.
Yep.
It was my way of not being able to separate my soul from my body.
Right.
And not being able to accept that I can't take anything, like as if I'm going to take that with me. No,
right?
It's going to sit there and rot
for
thousands of years. Why?
Yeah.
Somebody could get something out of it.
Absolutely.
You know? So, yeah, my whole mindset on that changed. And I look at it totally different. I do not fear it. I fear pain, but everybody fears pain.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do not fear it.
No.
And I'm so glad. That was a big hurdle for me. I think a lot of it had to do with things that I got involved with, probably religion in some way.
Mm-hmm. Religion's frightening.
And can really cloud, this whole process and really put a lot of fear into us. And that's unnecessary.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's see. We've talked about what we do in heaven. We learn. We work on our souls. We help our loved ones. This is very important. This is what a lot of spirits do. They are around their loved ones. They're helping. The more that you recognize them, the more that they're going to be around you too. Mm-hmm. Because you could do anything when you're in heaven. You know, you want to learn, but you could go on vacation. You can go do whatever you want. You can travel anywhere you want in the universe, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But if you're not going to pay attention to them being here, then they're probably not going to be around you as much. But if you're going to make an effort to know that they're around you and to see what they're showing you, my mother is constant. You see it when we go out. It is nonstop because I see it.
Yeah.
That's all it really takes is just to see it, you know? So you are there helping your loved ones, guiding them, showing them the way that they're supposed to go. Always.
Yeah.
You're preparing to reincarnate and do it all over again. Really. That's one of the biggest things.
Yep.
And you can really do whatever you want. That's the last thing on my little list. Whatever you want, really.
And just back to the religion really fast. I don't want to knock that because I think it's important for people to have something to believe in. What I meant is some of the ideals or beliefs for me were hard for me to get past.
Yeah.
But the benefit of, having a belief and faith in something, you can hope all day long for whatever it is that you want in life or, in your death or whatever. You can hope. But faith is where the power is.
Yes, absolutely.
Believing that the signs, like what Samantha, what you're saying is like, you got to see those signs and not just think that, oh, that's Cecilia. I just happened to see the same name as my mom.
Yeah.
On some sign.
Yeah.
That my eyes were just drawn to.
Yeah, my eyes were drawn to. Oh, look, there's my numbers on that license plate.
Yeah, exactly. Those kind of things. It's like you can disregard them, but then it's wasted effort for them.
Yes.
Because they're drawing your attention to these things for a reason.
Yes.
So if you want to quiet of your own home and privacy, talk out loud to them, do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're crazy. No. Okay? It's all obtainable. It's all accessible. And it's all there for us to tap into. Mm-hmm. And your faith is what's going to make that possible.
Right.
If not, then it just goes by feeling like you live in a 3D world, as kind of like a robot.
Right.
Going with the motions, kind of. But
yeah. I think religion also complicates death, really. It gives you two things to think of, heaven and hell. Well, not every religion believes in hell, but this is hell right here. This is the worst it gets.
Right.
And it bothers me that some religions teach otherwise.
Yeah.
Because you're just frightening people into believing something that they don't need to believe. It's really, really very simple. When you look at it, there doesn't need to be all these rules or, but like you said, whatever religion, it's just nice to have a faith. Mm-hmm. You don't have to grab a hold of maybe some of those things that don't make sense in the religion. You can, I've always felt like you can pick and choose in your religion. Mm-hmm. That may sound weird, but, well, this doesn't make much sense to me, so I'm not going to follow that.
Right.
That's making up your own mind, really.
Pretty much.
But no matter what religion you are, what you believe, what God you worship, we're all going to the same exact place.
Yeah.
There is no getting around that. It doesn't matter who you are. Right. We're all going back to the spirit world where we came from.
And that's, to me alone, enough, sort of within our world, all these religions, and there is this kind of common thread that runs through them. We might have different idols and people that we put up on a pedestal to represent that religion, but it's all talking about the same thing, and that there is this energy, there is this God, there is another place besides this.
Right.
That's not by accident, and it's not by accident that it's been around for so long.
Yep.
Yep. But can messages and things like that get misconstrued throughout time? Sure, I believe that.
Oh, absolutely.
But the message itself, the true essence of it, no, that's all true.
Yep. Absolutely.
This isn't the end. It's not really death. It's just a word we came up with to describe what the end of this experience is.
Yeah, it's just the end of this and the beginning of another one. Even in the tarot deck, people get scared when they see the death card come up. But it doesn't mean that. It means the end of one cycle, beginning of another, which is exactly what death is for us physically. Yeah. It's the end of one cycle, beginning of another. When you get there and you're like, oh, damn, I spent so much of my life worrying about death. That's what I don't want anymore, and I did that for a long time, and it's just not worth it. It's not worth it at all.
I admire some of the thrill seekers you see, nowadays that, I guess to us we would go, oh my God, that guy has no regard for life. He's standing on a 12-inch ledge of a cliff on the side of a straight down granite mountain in Yosemite.
Yeah.
Or skydiving and things like this. And I admire those people on some level because they're getting the most out of this experience. They really are.
They are.
And stuff I wouldn't do. I mean, the guys that jump across like skyscraper buildings and walk on the edge of that. Mm-mm. But they're getting the most out of this experience.
They are. That's very true. I'll just get the most out of this experience in different ways. That's okay. You can keep your heights and your building jumping and whatever else that requires me to be up high.
Yeah. True.
In one of Dolores's books, she talks about interesting things that we would want to know from the other side. And one of those things is that we won't miss our old lives. You're not going to be like, I want to go back. I want to go back. You're not. It's time to move on. That story has closed. It's done.
Yeah, and something I've noticed really, if I can interject on that point, is that in readings you've done where loved ones here will say, oh my God, I miss them so much. Do they know I miss them?
Oh, yeah, they do.
Do they know that? And their response is usually, yes, I know. But they don't say, yes, I know, and I miss you so much.
No.
They don't say that. They say, yes, I know, because they're here.
Yeah.
So they don't miss you in the same way because they can see you.
Exactly.
And they can feel your emotion and your energy.
Yep.
We miss them because we can't see them.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
But you can feel their energy and they can communicate. And that helps ease that pain once you've come to that realization that this is, again, much more than what you can see.
Yes. I've accepted my mother's death in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean that I don't miss her? No, I miss her every day. But it's a different kind of missing now because she's there in my head all the time. I can ask her anything I want. I can talk to her anytime I want, but I can't reach out and hug her. Mm-hmm. So it's different, where she can hug me. I feel it when she does. Really, I do.
Right.
It's different. It's very different. Let's see. You'll have to work. Don't think that you're going to go there and sit on a cloud and do nothing. You're going to work. Because you want to.
You'll want to.
You're not going to be scrubbing floors or doing laundry. You're going to be working on your soul.
Right.
On the things that you didn't learn in this life that you need to learn for your next life.
Right.
Or things about your next life so that you're prepared for that next life.
Right.
Let's see. You won't be bored. So they say, I'll believe it when I see it. I think you get to the point where you're just like, I got to get out of here. I got to go back to the humor because this is just,
There's no negative connotation in any of it there. So even when you're working, it's like fun.
Yeah.
Because you understand from where you're sitting then, your perspective is much different.
Exactly. It's so hard on the human level to be like, you're not bored, but that's a human thing. See, that's where we put our human emotions in the spirit world, and those aren't there.
No.
So where we maybe don't understand that's just the way it works. I'm like, how are you not bored?
No
really?
matter like how much you practice this and pray and work it, like, trying to be the most spiritual person in the world, you don't actually hit that level of enlightenment until you have crossed.
Right.
There is a peak that you can never get here that you will achieve. We all achieve.
Right.
Once we've crossed. And then what happens there is what the beauty of that is it's like everybody's equal.
Yes.
Everybody is equal.
You're a soul and you recognize the other souls.
Yes.
Just because you recognize them. Mm-hmm. You don't, there's no names, there's no faces. Right. You're just a soul.
I mean, no, do you look at certain souls up there and think, oh my gosh, they're way more powerful? Of course you do.
Yeah.
But that soul's not looking at you like you're lower.
Right.
That you're all viewing each other the same.
Absolutely.
You're there for the same reason.
Yes.
The greater of good.
Yes. All of these human emotions, all of these negative things, they stay here. There's the things that go are the love, the purity, the things that we come here with to begin with, the things that become us here that aren't like memories and all that goes away.
Right.
We leave the anger, we leave the resentment, we leave it all here. So why make it important here is the way I look at it. If it's not important there, then why is it important here?
Right.
They want us to do the things here that we can't do there.
Mm-hmm.
They want us to eat the delicious foods.
Mm-hmm.
Just wisely eat the delicious foods because you don't have that in the spirit world. You don't have food.
Nope.
Do the things that you love here. Just be conscious of it. Don't eat yourself crazy.
Yeah.
Those types of things. But they want us to do that. They want us to have those experiences. And you want you to have that. When you get to the other side, you're the only judge. And that's another thing. You are the only judge. There's no God that's going to sit there and tell you did wrong.
Nope.
Your mother's not going to sit there and tell you did wrong.
Right.
My mother doesn't sit here and tell me that I did wrong.
Right.
She doesn't. She tries to coach me on how I can do better the next time without any kind of, crap. You're the one that judges yourself for the things that you did. That's it.
And that's why you come back.
Right.
To live another life is you've judged yourself and you've said, oh, there's some things I could work on.
And you know what? Judging yourself is one of the hardest. You're the hardest critic on yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, that's one of the biggest reasons I've made a lot of changes in my life is that I want to get to the other side back there and see my life review and be proud of myself and see how much I've grown instead of staying in that place that,
Yeah.
I want to be proud. I don't want to look back and be like, I should have done it differently.
Yeah, there's no jury or anybody that's going to cast you into a fiery lake. No,
not at all. You are your own judge and jury. Yeah. And even at that, you're still gentle on yourself.
Yeah, it's a different approach there.
Yeah.
It's all like, out of positivity and, love. So even when you have to learn, it's not ordered, it's not sentenced, it's just you do it.
And one of the things that my mom told us once is that your worst day on the other side is better than your best day here.
Yeah.
So that's something to remember too.
Yeah, those are good words. Yeah,
exactly. So I just really quick before we finish, I just wanted to give a couple of books for people that maybe could help them if they want to know more about this. Mm-hmm. When I first learned about my abilities, the very first book that I read was John Holland, Bridging Two Realms. And it really lays out for you. He talks a lot about the transition and what it's like over there. It's a very, very good book. Dolores Cannon has a lot of those too, but Between Death and Life is the one where she really talks about this subject the most. It's a great book. That was the first one of hers that I read too.
Yeah, it's good.
So I highly recommend that. And then Tyler Henry has two books, Between Two Worlds. That's kind of more of an autobiography. Uh-huh. But he also just came out with a new book, Here and Hereafter. I got it for us on Audible. It's in there.
Cool.
I love Tyler Henry.
Nice.
And so that's on the subject as well. So that's some good continued reading if you want to know more about the subject.
Cool.
Or, if there's anything that we missed, because I'm sure there is, and that you'd like me to answer, or us to answer, just shoot us a message and we'll do it.
Cool.
Because I know that there's a lot of information on what happens, but really my goal for this episode was just to try and ease some minds and to make people really see that there is no lights out.
No.
There is life after what we call death.
There's work to be done, folks.
There's a lot of work to be done, Yeah. And we do, the more that we do here, the less we have to do there, really.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So even if the end of this life, don't worry, you'll get to rest.
Yeah.
There'll be plenty of that.
There'll be plenty of resting. Don't worry. So.
And it's all good.
Yep. It's all good.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
I like this subject even though it's, hard.
Right.
Yeah.
It is, again, based on our perception,
Yes.
when you're looking at it from this side, but
yeah.
It's not. It's a glorious day for all.
It is.
When your time comes.
Yeah.
And don't, your loved ones, take the time to let them know beforehand. And if and when I go,
right.
Take your time to be sad.
Right.
But celebrate. Because
yes.
I'm going to be celebrating.
Right. Exactly.
Once we do go to the other side, we don't miss this place like we miss them.
Right. I know that there's probably some people sitting there listening going, how do they know all this? It's lights out. I know it's lights out. My entire life is based around the fact that it is not lights out. My job is to talk to spirits on the other side, and I'm really good at my job. I absolutely 100% believe and would stake everything on the fact that this is not lights out.
No.
That there is absolutely more out there than we even understand.
Yeah.
If it was lights out, I wouldn't have a job. I wouldn't. Right. I wouldn't be doing this show. And, I know, religion, you can't always trust. This isn't religion. This is different.
Yeah.
This is a connection that anybody can feel.
Right.
I can talk to any spirit that you want me to and show you that there is something more than just here. So please rest assured knowing that this is not the end. This is just a cycle, and that no matter how it happens or when it happens, it will be okay. And you planned it that way.
Yep.
And it's good.
Yep.
That's it.
That's
good. My rant.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, before we say goodbye.
Yeah.
And thank you, by the way. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Would you like to share your page?
Sure. You can find out all about me on my website, SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. You can also message us at spiritualjoneses@gmail.com. Give us your show ideas, ask us questions, whatever you like.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very good.
And you, sir?
If you like art, you can check mine out at djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram and Facebook, and for the music, gypsybrown.com for the web, at Gypsy Brown Music for Instagram, and at Gypsy Brown Band for Facebook. And that's it for me.
Yay.
Well, we hope everybody got something out of this.
That we do.
Maybe we ease some minds a little bit.
I hope so. I really do.
But I speak from experience. I struggled with this for a long time.
Yep.
And I searched in a lot of different areas, including religion and different groups, to find something I truly found that is real and I believe in. And this is it.
Yep.
And I don't have that fear anymore.
Yep.
So they've helped me with that.
Yep.
Thank
we
you.
hope that they will help you, and we can help you too with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, we hope everybody has a great week.
That we do.
And until next week, peace and love.